as such information could give it a competitive edge, an official says the bloc needs to ensure that large online platforms don't eliminate these benefits from anti-competitive behaviour. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The top finance officials of the group of 7 rich democracies arriving at Chantilly, France, at the start of a 2-day meeting aimed at finding common ground on how to tax technology companies and on the risk of new digital currencies. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Hi, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. I am Brendan Trainor, your host, along with Leland Faegre. Come down from Tahoe on another beautiful summer day.
Hot air balloons in the sky there. Something else.
Great.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
About 8,000 feet, it looked like to me. And yeah, gorgeous day.
All right.
Hot here.
Yes, it is hot down here. Well, should we lead with the bleed again? Should we talk about Epstein? Or
well, as long as we get the security in place, and then we'll probably be all right.
Yes, because the thing about Epstein that's tearing up the internet, but not the mainstream media, is was he Mossad or wasn't he? And that's the primary issue that we're seeing.
It occurred to me, yes.
Yes, and the links to Mossad are tenuous, and they're not set in actual proof. They're just links at this point. Mm-hmm. But they are substantial. Mm-hmm. Yeah. First of all is his association with the Maxwells. Mm-hmm. And Ghislaine Maxwell was his girlfriend, and then it seems his personal secretary and pimp, procurer of women. Mm-hmm. For his
curator,
yes. She practically ran his business, according to some accounts. Mm-hmm. And who was she? Well, she was a socialite daughter of Robert Maxwell, a English tabloid publisher, and rumored to be a double or even triple agent. Some people claim he was paid by the Russians, others by the British, and others by Israel.
And he's no longer with us.
No. Yeah. He died mysteriously. He either fell or was pushed off his yacht named Lady Ghislaine in 1991 under mysterious circumstances. And but we did know that he got an Israeli state funeral in which he was eulogized and praised by, I believe it was Yitzhak Rabin, who said he did more for Israel than anyone will ever know. Mm-hmm. So
that's kind of revealing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Is he one of us?
So, Ghislaine, there are other ties that are, again, tenuous. We don't really know what to do about them at this point.
These are reasonable assumptions.
Reasonable assumptions, yes. Well, that whole area around southeastern Florida, where Donald Trump had Mar-a-Lago, but also where many of the hijackers trained to not fly airplanes, including Mohammed Atta.
Kind of hung out there.
Yes, they did. And it's a heavily Jewish area. Hollywood, the bar that many of them hung out to is called Schumann's in Hollywood, Florida. And
happening place.
Yes. And there were also other connections. For example, he and his next girlfriend, and I don't have the picture of her, she had like a Slavic name though. They flew out of a Tenagard airfield in New Jersey, which is also rumored to be a CIA and Mossad airport. Mm-hmm. And
exclusive.
There was a lot of instances where the CIA was doing their extraditions from there and so on, and so this tangled web is beginning to grow. We were just talking about how Ahmed Barak or
Ehud Barak.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Right.
He's now become associated with Epstein,
who is now challenging Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yes, he is.
So it's a likely association that he wants to downplay.
Hmm.
One would
Well,
assume.
yeah, he claims he visited he's met Epstein between 10 and 100 times. That's quite a spread there.
An enormous spread.
Yes. And he visited...
I'm thinking it's closer to 100.
Yeah. He visited his establishment in the Caribbeans. I use that word loosely. And there but he never met any women.
No, that's right. They weren't there.
Yeah.
Nowhere to be found.
Nope. Now, where did Epstein get his money? That's another interesting question. The government came out and said that, recently, that they claimed his estimated worth was not billions, but maybe $500 million. And they found $70,000 in cash and some nice diamonds and so on in his home. Now, that home was given to him. He didn't have to pay for it by Mr. Wexler, who was the founder of Victoria's Secret.
It's a sweetheart deal, huh?
It is.
A gifted home.
Yes. And let's go back a little bit further. Epstein's first real job, and this involved teaching calculus and physics to young people at the uppity prep school called, I think it's John Dalton or Timothy Dalton High School in Manhattan.
I've heard this.
Yeah. And the person who hired him was now Attorney General Barr's father, who hired him for some unknown reason, even though he had no degrees in either subject.
But that wouldn't preclude him from being knowledgeable in that area.
Yes,
just to be fair about it.
Right.
In fact, I'd probably trust him more because he wasn't certificated than if he was certificated. But yeah.
So that lasted several years, and then in that position he made contacts, and he joined Bear Stearns for a brief period of time as a trader.
And that brief period of time needs a little emphasis, because wouldn't that make for a splendid cover?
Mm-hmm.
He was just there, to give him legitimacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to know. I mean, these are all just reasonable assumptions that we're making here,
Right.
but there's a lot of mystery associated with this guy.
And then he became this hedge fund manager who was set up again by Wexler as his only known client.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He had no other clients, no firms, and no Wall Street firms will acknowledge ever doing business or say they never did any business with his hedge fund. So, and then there's the fact, of course, that he had cameras and audio. He was recording everything on his plane. There were video cameras on his mansion, on his island in the Caribbean. They were all surveyed.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Hello, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. My name is Brendan Trainor. I'm your host, along with Leland Faegre. And we were discussing the dual nature or the possibilities of the Epstein case. So the question is, where did he get all this money and influence that he has? So there are basically two solutions. One is that it was state-sponsored. Only a state could provide him with this kind of money. And that state that engages in espionage in order to attract people into its web and turn them.
You're not going to say Israel, are you?
Yeah, I think I might say Israel. I mean, who else would it be? Russia, England, the U.S.? It's most likely Israel, given his connection with the Maxwells, I would think.
And Baruch?
And Baruch.
Yeah.
But the other solution, according to some that are government skeptics and knowledgeable people, is that using the principle of Occam's razor, the whole thing could simply be a sex ring. And he may just have been blackmailing billionaires. He only dealt with billionaires, so give him $1 billion and run free on his encampments.
Or
And
was he employed by those billionaires?
yes, it's possible. Did he blackmail them first and then collect the money, or did some of them actually give him the money up front and he didn't even have to blackmail them? It's an open question, but we hope to find out a lot more, and we hope we don't see a cover-up of what's going on, but keep your fingers crossed, but your expectations low.
Well, what was the quote from, was it, who was it, Chelsea Clinton? Who was was it Pelosi? Some of our faves will be implicated?
Yeah, it was Pelosi's daughter.
Pelosi's daughter, yeah.
Yes. So I'm sure that's referring to Wild Bill.
Yeah. Some of our faves?
Yes. And Ghislaine Maxwell, by the way, has been photographed that was present at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. So that's another tidbit to throw out there. And we'll learn more, and we'll try to keep you posted and as we proceed into this scandal. All right, but getting away from the scandalous aspects, the titillating aspects, there's been several things in the news. As for hard news, the House voted to end the authority for the use of military force, which is the justification for the war on terror, when they passed the National Defense Authorization Act. And the Senate, of course, is threatening to not even consider it, not even take it up, and then we'll have to wait and see what the House does. But that has just riled the hawks on both sides, but especially the Republican hawks, about this. And then also that has been in the news and has not received very much coverage at all is that a federal judge kneecapped the Mueller team in federal court by saying that they had violated Rule 57 of the Federal Rules of Procedure.
Hard to imagine that the Mueller team would have been in violation of law, would it? Isn't it?
I know.
How could that?
I know. They are the paragon of law and order in this country. Yes, virtue, and so on. But
Well, that testimony was delayed from today till next Wednesday.
yes, his testimony before Congress.
And
But
Devin Nunes is making the point that he believes that there's going to be some surprises, that
And-
they're working through back channels to throw some crumbs and some bones over at the Democrats to extend the discussion about obstruction
okay.
and collusion, Russian collusion, going into the campaign season. This is their last shot. They don't have anything left. So I'm guessing that that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There is going to be a bone or two thrown over to the Democrats, just as he did in that 9-minute press conference.
Mm-hmm.
In which case they can run with that for, depending upon what he reveals or what he is suggesting, even though he is in violation of his own rules by even discussing it further. I think that's what we're going to see next Wednesday.
Well, you heard it here first. As far as the Internet Research Agency in St. Petersburg, as I have maintained all along that it was nothing but a commercial clickbait organization, a commercial scheme, and the wily Putin's chef, he's sometimes called, because he was in the food business before he got into the internet business, and he catered some events in St. Petersburg that Putin attended, and Putin did make him put him in charge of the school district in Moscow, but he did a bad job.
He didn't do a good job?
No, parents were complaining about the food, and so that's when he got into the internet, and he got into it with the internet rehabilitation of reputation idea. You know, when you go on the internet and you try to rehabilitate your reputation.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was his first venture.
Oh.
And from there, he got into the whole idea of clickbait, and in order to have people click on ads. In Russia, many of them were pro-Putin ads. Click on the ads, and then, also click on the meme or the post, and then click on an ad for money. Mm-hmm. And that's what the American venture was all about. He paid people very little money. They were not spies. They were graduate students, for the most part, in St. Petersburg. And all he had to make was $25-50 a day off of his ads, and it was a money-making proposition.
Yeah.
So
what a commercial venture. Huh?
yeah, and he was trying to crack the huge U.S. market. And of course, a lot of his ads were really corny. Remember Buff Bernie? He had an ad of Bernie Sanders in a workout uniform looking like Hans and Franz from the old Saturday Night
Live.
Live.
But it sounds funny. Yeah.
And another one with Jesus arm wrestling Satan. And Jesus is saying, you won't win, Satan, and Hillary will not be president, and stuff like that. And
Those subversive Russians.
yes, subversive Russians. They're so tied up
I'm
in
telling
religion.
you,
I know,
yeah.
it's amazing. But anyway, so what the Concord Management, which is the American representative for the Russians oligarchs' business, they actually showed up in court and astounded Mueller by going into discovery.
And they wanted to know what they were being charged with,
Exactly.
which is a reasonable part of the legal process.
Yeah, yes.
And then the Supreme Court entered the fray.
Mm.
And John Roberts decided that they weren't allowed to see what Mueller had on him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I have this awful feeling about Roberts, not that I ever felt great about him anyway. And wasn't he a Bush appointee?
Yes.
What else do you need to know?
Okay.
I don't know how we got...
Chief Justice
how we
instead
got-
of Associate
yeah,
Justice.
yeah.
But at any rate, Rule 57 says that the government cannot promote a theory of the case without any evidence. So they were going around saying that the Internet Research Association was a Russian government-linked operation without any evidence to show that it was.
Mm-hmm.
So they got smacked down over that.
It sounds like Weissman,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he's known for.
Yep. Yeah. So again, we are back to the only link they have now to Russia is Assange and the Guccifer 2 and the CrowdStrike, who was the only one that examined the DNC server. So the whole case now, as far as Russian Russian involvement, or what Mueller called in his report, systemic Russian interference in our election, threatening our precious democracy.
And Mueller would have been very vulnerable next week when
Mm-hmm.
he appears if he didn't have something he could throw over at the Democrats, because the Republicans are going to eat him for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
They got all kinds of questions to ask for this phony 2-year process that
Oh, yeah.
resulted in the Mueller report.
Well, most of them, but the most important one being, when did you know that there was no
Yeah,
collusion?
the day he sat down is when he knew it.
Yeah.
Because he knew. I'd like to know how it was decided upon that this former, actually existing deep state operative ended up with that investigation. Who were the decision makers that made that?
That appointed Mueller? you
Yeah,
mean? Yeah.
We never hear about that.
No.
So some back channel arrangement was carved out because obviously it was designed to push Trump out.
Mm-hmm. Mueller was part of the whole
That's
operation.
all it was.
But he could not get him on the collusion part, but he tried to implicate him through the back door on the obstruction
On
of
obstruction,
justice.
but all of those efforts, all of those incidences, and I think there are about 10 or 15 or something that he highlights in that report, in the second part of the report, are easily defensible under Article 2. So they had nothing there either, which is why he didn't charge him with obstruction.
Yes.
And just left this question mark over the whole effort.
Well, I can't exonerate him, but I can't charge him
I can't
either.
charge him either.
Yes.
So that's the bone he gave to the Democrats at that time. Not that they're Democrats, but just for the lack of any more elaborate description. But that is the kind of thing I think we're going to see next Wednesday as well.
Well, we're looking forward to that.
Oh, are we ever? Yeah. I might take the day off.
So the last bit of hard news I have really is the Justice John Paul Stevens passed away yesterday at 99 years old, active until his last days, and a very nice person by all accounts.
A bow tie liberal.
A bow tie liberal, yes.
Excuse me, bow tie statist. I hate to
Statist.
use the word liberal.
Okay. A Gerald Ford appointee, and he unfortunately is best known for his majority opinion in Kelo versus that city in Connecticut. which affirmed the ability of the government to take property for just about any reason.
Eminent domain.
Under eminent domain, yes. And he also dissented in Heller, the Second Amendment, and he spent a good deal of time downgrading the center.
Stay with us. We'll be back.
Think you've tried every cool bar and restaurant in town? Think again. Abel Del Real invites you to the real deal.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ,
a Lotus broadcast station.
the power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
Hello, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I am your host, Brendan Trainor, my co-host, Leland Faegre. And time for our shout out to our main sponsor, Reno Computer Services. Reno's premier computer repair, malware removal, and data recovery service. They perform routine maintenance and repair, virus and malware removal, and data recovery. And they specialize in a preventive approach that delivers reliable, consistent, and secure PC performance. Call them now at 775-737-4400 or www.renocomputerservices.com.
Right now? We're doing the show right now.
Okay, well, as soon as the show's over, you
okay.
can call them.
I'll do it as soon as the show is over.
So what has been in the news recently is the reaction to one of the Donald Trump tweets condemning the squad, as they're called, the four representatives in Congress controlled by AOC, Alexandria Ortiz Castro, or Cortez. Ocasio-Cortez.
Right.
Yes.
AOC.
IOC is easier to say.
I would
sorry.
not feel bad about butchering her name.
Right.
I think it's more like a firing squad is what's being set up.
So it was called racist, and Nancy Pelosi introduced a resolution that called the tweet racist, or to split hairs. She says now that she did not say Donald was racist. She said that his words were racist.
That's how she makes the distinction.
Yes.
Notice how quickly she got that resolution going.
Yes.
You can't do anything about the border, but she can pony up a resolution in a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yep. And the women of color, was it a racist tweet? What do you think?
He doesn't mention color.
No, he doesn't. They're saying, well, he didn't mention Bernie Sanders. Well, he didn't mention them by name either.
Right. No name was part of his tweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like it. I thought it was in bad taste. I really don't like that whole Nixonian conservative hawk reply to any criticism of U.S. foreign policy. This is America, love it or leave it.
Yeah, but we're here now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't turn back.
Right.
We're on the threshold of a civil war, and that's what this is revealing.
Mm.
It's much more serious than people realize, because they're not going to let go. We're not going to let go. And there's going to be a flash. There already is. Antifa's going after our buildings now.
Yes. And they're the good guys because they're anti-fascist. Get it? Antifa. Anti-fascist. So they're good.
Let me write that down. I keep forgetting what that is.
It's like the 1930s. The only thing is the anti-fascists are out in the street.
It's like Abbott and Costello or something.
Yeah.
Except that it's so serious.
Yes, I know. And the CNN was caught by Tucker last night as in one of the shows they did, that arsonist, that person that attacked the building was actually in the background. He wasn't interviewed, but he was in the background of a CNN special on Antifa.
Sure he was, because he chases after media attention.
Mm-hmm.
So those people are out there.
Yes. And, they've been, that's one of the things that I noticed when I was writing for the very liberal Reno News and Review that...
I'm sorry, did you say liberal?
I did say liberal, yes. Or left liberal, or what did you call
Neoliberal.
statist?
Yes.
Neoliberal, yeah. that
Liberal is just too nice of a term to describe these people.
I know.
We've got to stop that.
I know.
Everybody, I'm from Rush on down. We've got to stop calling these people things that are nice.
Right.
These are not nice people. Antifa reveals that. Start calling them something other than liberal. Illiberal, socialist, Marxist, communist, anything but.
Mm-hmm. You've got a good point there, because
we have to get the nomenclature down. Otherwise, we won't be able to win the war.
And the war goes on, and it's hitting the streets, and it has been from the beginning that most of the violence has been from the left. And when I pointed that out, I got quite a bit of feedback, negative feedback from some people at the paper, because they all want to blame the right for violence, when in fact they're the ones committing most of the violence.
Well, it's Marxist-Leninist, and that's what they do. That's the nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the enemy.
Yep. It's cultural Marxism. Oh, they hated when I used that phrase, too.
Mm-hmm. Through the buildings?
Yeah. So so again, I kind of objected to Trump's words, his phraseology. Leland doesn't object so much.
Well,
but
because he's defining them. See, we're in a campaign mode now.
Mm-hmm.
We're going into we're very much into it now.
Oh, yeah.
A week ago, we were kind of into it. Now we're very much into it. And all of these efforts are going to define his enemy. And he wanted Pelosi to either embrace or disassociate herself from the Marxist left of the party. And that's what he just did. He just cleverly associated the entire party uniquely so that he can go after them broadly.
Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
The man is absolutely brilliant.
Because last week Pelosi was kind of denouncing them for being too far to the left.
He didn't like that.
Yeah.
He wanted to group them.
Right.
So now they're grouped.
Well.
Mission accomplished. That's what it was designed to do. And by the way, his rally tonight.
Yes.
I'm not sure what time it starts, but they started lining up for it at 4 a.m. But crowds don't matter.
No. Only polls matter.
Yeah.
The vaguer, the better.
We found that out in 2016.
Yes. All right. So then, so we have accepted that Donald has pulled off another coup, another
and it will be clear,
strategy.
in a matter of days, if not weeks, how absolutely extraordinary that strategy is, even to those who may not see it at the moment.
Yes. Is he playing 3D chess, or is he just simply lashing out at his opponents?
Yeah, or as in poker, there's a lot of psychology that goes on in that game.
He's hiding his hand.
Bluffing, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, the conventional opposition has started to gel a little bit more within the Republican Party, in that Mark Sanford has declared that he might declare for president against Trump.
Well, yeah, let him, and then we just see where he's just risen 5 points among Republicans since the tweets.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's not going to get anywhere with Republicans.
And
for sure.
Sanford has a lot of baggage he's going to bring to the landscape.
Well, you mean his
yeah, nobody likes that stuff, and we've had enough of that.
Running off to Argentina,
yeah.
You mean?
Was it Argentina? I thought it was Venezuela.
No, he ran off to Argentina with
yeah.
to hook up with a journalist and claimed he was out hiking.
Mm-hmm. It was a long hike.
Yes. But he was a good governor. And
I think he's articulate.
He is.
I'll say that for him.
He was a member of the Freedom Caucus.
It's
and
just like anyone from our side, whether they are neocon statists, or otherwise, they're not helping. We need to rally around what is common to all of us at this point, so we can rout these people once and for all. These people have to be routed. They have to be put down. The country is at stake.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I don't see any value to Sanford or who's the libertarian up in Michigan.
In Massachusetts. Well,
No, well, Weld, but who's the guy who just recently called Trump out, the libertarian that?
Justin Amash.
Amash, yeah. I mean, please, people, put that down. Get with the program. We can talk about these points in the future, not now. This is too important.
So this election really is the ultimate election.
It's a defining moment. Yeah, we got him in there. We're lucky enough to get him in there. We got to keep him for at least 4 years. I'm concerned about what happens in 24. That's what I'm
who's going to follow after him?
Yeah, that's my concern.
Because the dogs of war will be unleashed by somebody else.
And he is unique to our opposition. He knows how to, wrap them around his finger. And I'm not sure there's anybody else out there that can do that.
No, that's not the typical Republican way, that's for sure.
Which is what the neocons often tout as a problem with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's uniquely capable of taking them on all at once. It's like a satirical video where an army comes at him and he knocks off every single one of his attackers, even though it couldn't possibly happen in real life, that kind of thing. Very, very impressive.
But he might appoint another neocon to be to another defense post.
Well, these are issues that we can take up as we go along, but taken all together, this is an extraordinary period, an extraordinary opportunity for us to fight against our enemies and defeat them. Not just, put them off, keep them at bay, wink, nod at them, like the previous administrations did in my lifetime. This is a time to just be serious about the opportunity that we have now to put our enemies where they belong. Some of them behind bars.
Yeah, that. Can you imagine seeing Brennan do a perp walk? I mean,
no, I can't imagine it, but I suppose we could see it.
Or Clapper?
Right.
Oh, gosh.
Well, Brennan and Clapper and Comey, I mean, if those guys don't go down, we're all in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I think especially Brennan and Clapper, if to go after the deep state, you have to go over the intelligence community.
Wow, you look fantastic. Where did you get that perfect tan?
Oh, thank you. Element Tanning Studio.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ.
A Lotus broadcast station.
The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
Hi, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm Brendan Trainor, and with me is Leland Faegre. And we were discussing about the squad, and Leland said...
Firing squad.
Yeah, there's a meme out there that says where they're talking together in caucus, and they're saying, well, who haven't we accused of racism? If everyone's a racist, then nobody's a racist. And going back to this controversy that we saw in the first Democratic debate, and the second debate is coming up, when Kamala Harris brought up busing, which was a very contentious viewpoint when she was when it was happening.
The exchange was contentious.
Yes.
But it's moronic to bring that subject up.
I know.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Well, there's a little bit of light that comes from understanding who her husband is. Kamala's husband is Douglas Emhoff, who is a very prominent Jewish Hollywood corporate lawyer in Hollywood, defending the rights of the Hollywood corporations. And he's supposed to be very good at his job. He's an excellent arguer. But the point is that in his biography, he says that his family got rich and moved out to California from Brooklyn. And it's interesting to see where they moved to, because at that time, the San Fernando Valley was very heavily Jewish, and a lot of people Jews that had moved to California settled in the San Fernando Valley.
I think that's still the case.
Yes. Yeah. But then there was busing, and busing caused white flight. And white flight was also very Jewish, because remember, these high IQ Ashkenazi Jews we're not particularly interested in being bused down to Watts and taking school with little black children, no matter how liberal they claim to be. So what his family decided to move to was the high school named Agoura in the Las Virgenes school district, which is over the mountains. Las Virgenes.
Yeah, out way
was
out.
that Ventura County?
West side of the San Fernando Valley. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, way out there. Yeah.
So he would not be bused.
Right.
So
I was one of those that was not affected by the decision
mm-hmm.
at the time, because I was further to the east than was considered for busing. So I escaped that whole thing as well.
So as a result of busing, which her husband managed, he was a child at the time, but his family managed to keep little Dougie away from the busing. Mm-hmm. We have now the Los Angeles Unified School District is only 10% white now.
Yeah, that's right.
And so even if they wanted to bus, there really wouldn't be anyone to bus.
Yeah. So effective are their policies, huh?
Yes. There's never any unintended consequences. Government can fix all the problems.
Right. And, Gingrich has been in the vanguard of thinking that she would be the front runner in this primary.
Yeah.
I noticed when I last saw him, he actually put her number 2 in his thinking now.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not as sure of himself as I think he once was. I don't see how she's going to take the nomination. I think it's the CFR controlling the shots as usual, and it's going to be Biden. I can't, he'd have to shoot himself in the head, and he nearly does that on a daily basis. But
well, her strategy is plainly to survive New Hampshire, where Bernie and what's her name, the scoldy lady, the one with the plan. Pocahontas, where Bernie and Pocahontas will have a favorite there, and also survive Iowa, where there aren't that many black people to begin with. So she has to survive those two and come out relatively good there, and then of course take California decisively. Mm-hmm. Most of the electoral votes there.
But I see where Pocahontas has stepped away from Harris in California.
Oh, she's separating herself a little bit there?
No, she's actually on top of Harris now in the most recent poll. So I don't think it's going to be Harris. I just don't think it. I could be wrong. We'll see what happens, but my instinct says no.
Well, they're all scary. Of course, I'm much less scared of Tulsi. If she could, and Tulsi, last time I visited her website, she has over 100,000 contributions, so she needs about 140,000 by the end of August to be in the third debate. She's going to be in next week's debate.
And how do her supporters contact her with that money so that she can get in that debate? Do you have that phone number?
Well, I don't have a phone number, but you can contribute off the website. Tulsi Gabbard 2020. So
because we'd like to see her in there.
Yeah, we would like to see her to continue on at least for a while, and establish herself as a voice in the political process, because we think she's somewhat more moderate than the others on economic issues, and she's definitely more forceful on the foreign policy. Mm-hmm. And speaking of foreign policy, we mentioned last week that the Democrats held a secret meeting, 25 Democratic senators chaired by Amy Klobuchar. Okay, to discuss the insurrection among young Democrats, and they had the 16 largest Jewish organizations, all of them Zionists, in attendance, and asking them for their assistance in helping to quell the revolt from the left against Zionism, and there's a follow-up. It now turns out that there is an organized effort among young Democratic Jews called If Not Now, which was named from a saying by a rabbi, 19th century rabbi. But what they're doing is they're going to every town hall meeting that these candidates attend, and they're asking them to denounce the occupation. And so AIPAC has already sent out talking points to all the candidates. And if they are not with them, the candidate is going to say, basically, well, okay, but the Palestinians have to stop their violence. Mm-hmm. And that is the AIPAC talking point. To
and that's
shift
always,
it back on the Palestinians.
Well, and that's always been the talking point.
Yeah.
This is not